Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this is a very sensitive matter, and it's a matter that touches on the deaths of very many innocent lives. And it's actually about time that we discuss these things soberly without blame games. Because if we start discussing on, raising aspersions and raising issues, and talking to each other, or rather at each other, it will really be, it will paint us in a very bad picture as a country, because we actually lose the entire thing. Because if we actually start blaming us or blaming each other, then we'll start blaming each other from way back. Because if I listen to Honorable Gertrude very clearly, she of course blames the government, which is okay. But again, when you read and follow the history of Mr. Mackenzie, you will realize that he actually left Malindi or that area on or about 2 years ago. And most of these things that happened within the handshake government. So we really do not want to go to those things. When the government was focusing on handshake and deals and everything, COVID-19 haste and everything, such things were happening. But Honorable Speaker, that is not the direction as leaders we should be taking. What we should actually be asking ourselves as a house that makes laws, how do we sit down and regulate this radicalization or regulate these religious groups that are cropping up? And I think that is more important, because what has happened has already happened. We already see reaction by the government. We've seen the police there. We've seen today the Minister of Interior there. We've seen so many rescue missions happening there. We've seen people being taken, of course, for rescue centers and such. That is now what under the bridge. What we should be discussing in this house is what we should do to regulate these religious cults that are happening. And for me, Honorable Speaker, I get surprised all over, because this thing has happened, is actually happening all over. When people choose to believe human beings, the good book in the book of John chapter 10 verse 10 promises life and life in abundance. You do not need a broker to get to Christ. You do not need any person to stand by your way when you're going to Christ as Christians. And I do not understand at times that people have chosen, even the learned ones, have chosen to go, to be radicalized by people, and some who are actually not learned, calling themselves serious titles, doctors, so and so, how they acquired those doctorates, really cannot be explainable. And for us, Honorable Speaker, for this House, it is about time we come up with measures. We have the responsibility to regulate these churches. We have the responsibility to come up with law. If it means coming up with a particular ministry or proposing some particular act of parliament, particularly for these churches or religious groups, then so be it. We can go the Rwanda way, where you can't just wake up one morning and open a church and change your voice and twist your voice and speak as though you've been preaching the entire night and start saying, I spoke to God last night, I spoke to him this morning, I spoke to him over lunchtime, and then make people give you money. It was actually very sad to read a story of a lady, a air hostess, that decided to dispose of her property at a meager amount of about 7 million. I hear the property is worth 50 million. And she took that money to the pastor who is not fasting. And then she went to the forest to fast inside the forest where the pastor is eating. And worse, I hear that these people had even the supervisors and people taking, moving around to see whether they are fasting. Monitors moving around, they are whipping them to see whether they are fasting. It is actually wrong. It is wrong. And for us, as the government is doing, much in regard to recovery of the bodies and such, the House needs to sit down and come up with measures to regulate that. But even as I finish, Honorable Speaker, the world should know that there is nothing wrong in owning anything on earth. In the book of Psalms 24:1, Honorable Speaker, the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. The world and what dwells therein belongs to God. So the imaginary thing of some people telling them, sell your things, these things belong to the earth. Even that earth belongs to God. It is wrong to radicalize people, and especially children. So instead of the Honorable Member for Kilifi, raising questions and her voice towards our colleague, they should come up with measures as leaders from that county and do away with
The Honourable Member for Kilifi South, Ken Chonga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Initially, I wanted to put a point of order from the move of the motion after he mentioned that at some point, Honorable Aisha Jumwa actually made a comment about this. But because he was supporting President Ruto, the matter was neglected. Honestly, it would give a deviation from how we are supposed to debate this motion. But notwithstanding, Madam Speaker, I'm glad that you have given me an opportunity to contribute. And to this motion, I remember yesterday I even tweeted on this matter. Honestly, this is a matter that has been there from 2017. It is on record that in 2017, Mackenzie was taken to court. And from that time, Madam Speaker, the intelligence agencies, security agents, had the responsibility of putting a radar on this kind of a speaker, Madam Speaker. In 2019, the same speaker was again taken to court, released on a cash bail of 10,000, Madam Speaker. Is he working in cohort with the security agencies? Quite a number of things, bad things have been happening in Kenya. This is not the first incident that has happened. We have had stories of security lapse even in those areas where there's cattle rustling and what have you. Madam Speaker, where are we putting Kenyans in such a situation? This same pastor, whom today I'm told he's about to be released on bond, honestly, the stories coming out, this mother or whatever has been going on for years in that farm, and the government actually has not taken any step. It's quite a pity, Madam Speaker. If you hear what Mheshimiwa Osoro has said, what the move of this bill has said, it is quite a pity. While the other regime may be blamed that it never took the opportune time to address this, Madam Speaker, I concur with the woman rep of Kilifi County, what she has said. Honestly, from when the government started hearing about this matter, it is yesterday that the president made a statement about it. Is it because the people of Kilifi are not shareholders of this country? Today we were told that the CS for Interior is in Shakahola. 1 week after this matter is being brought to the limelight of the world, today is when the CS for Interior is going to Shakahola. Where do we put ourselves? The number of people in that land are still so many. Those who are still fasting in that land are still so many. We have only been seeing the security agents moving around, actually exhuming, but I think we need to do more than that. 800 acres of land is not a small piece of land, Madam Speaker. We really need a contingent of policemen to go and comb that land, because I am very sure there are still so many people, even as we speak, who are dying. There is no way the government can put a blind eye on what is going on today in Shakahola, Madam Speaker. In fact, if anything, the CS Interior should order a serious contingent to camp in that land for the sake of those who are there waiting to die. And taking a rider from the deputy leader of majority, he has mentioned about another church which is within his constituency. I am aware about that church. He didn't mention the pastor. It is Pastor Pastor Ezekiel. We are being told that Pastor Mackenzie was actually a follower of Pastor Ezekiel. It is true. Even in that church, We have heard about this pastor being a follower of Pastor Ezekiel. What we would request from this house, should that be the case, we are requesting investigators to be moved into that church.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Member. Just for your information, every member gets 5 minutes.